Our session today will be on various questions in money and banking. We're looking at 2023 paper. So the first section of this paper is usually multiple choice. So I will explain in detail the meaning of each of these ones. So question number one of the fundamental reasons for the existence of financial intermediation is the answer was B, small and medium businesses are unable to raise capital through issuing of bonds or shares because of information asymmetry problems. So before I go any further, I can want us to discuss the reasons for the existence of financial intermediation. What are financial intermediaries and what are they there to do? So this is very important for us to understand. Um, what is financial intermediation? So financial intermediation basically is the process through which financial intermediaries like the banks, like the credit unions, like the insurance and pension funds channel funds from the savers to the borrowers who need the money. Essentially, a bridge between people who want the money and people who don't have immediate use for the money. So the key issue here is having to facilitate a flow of money from surplus units to deficit units. So surplus units are simply individuals, they can be institutions with extra funds, where deficit units are individuals with insufficient funds like the borrowers. So the borrowers like you and me may not have the medium of say giving out monies to people who may not have capacity, who may have credit risk. And so because of that, they will engage in financial mediation so that they're able to raise funds by pulling these funds in um, a basket called financial intermediation. So in the financial intermediation here, small and medium businesses who are unable to raise capital by issuing bonds or shares because of information asymmetry will come together. So financial intermediation, one of the key reasons, like I said, is to bridge this gap. Now, what is information asymmetry? So these small, medium enterprises or businesses cannot access the capital markets directly because investors do not have enough information about the credit worth of the business prospects. So this is what we call information asymmetry. This is a situation where one party who's a borrower knows more than the other who's a lender. So the role of financial intermediation here, therefore, is to reduce this gap by assessing the borrower's risks, the pool of deposits, and allocating funds efficiently. So the answer is B. All right. Then we go to question number three. Question number two is a little bit complex for explanation six. So let's go to question number three. An increase in the interest rate, the market interest rate will reduce the bank's net worth in the market to market terms if. So the answer there was B. Answer was B, which is average maturity of the fixed income assets exceeds the average maturity of the fixed income liabilities. So just to explain a bit, when we're talking about the mark to market concept here, we are looking at accounting values, um, assets and liabilities at current market prices, not at historical market prices. So what actually happens is when interest rates go up, the market value of the existing fixed income assets like the bonds, like the loans, most likely fall. So this is because we have new bonds that are offering higher rates because bonds are long term. So now this has an impact. The impact is a mismatch in maturity. So if a bank's assets have longer maturities than its liabilities, it simply means that the value of the assets will fall more sharply than liabilities when interest rates will rise. So this situation is what will reduce a bank's net worth in the MTMs, which are the mark to market terms. So um, our answer there we said is B. Our answer there we said is B. The average maturity of the fixed income exceeds the average monthly of its fixed income liabilities. All right, so we go to question number 4. Question number 4, we're looking at the uses of money, which is one of the core concepts in this course. So money has many functions. It's a medium of exchange. Money is a unit of account, meaning it's there to measure value. It's also a store of value, meaning it's there for saving future purchases. So in this case, in the scenario, you can read a young professional is proud that she has reached the goal of being able to set aside funds monthly to buy essential durable households. What function of money does this best represent? Okay. So what do you think is the answer there at that point? We must also further understand that functions of money would be medium of exchange, okay, which is the most common function that we should think about when money comes to our mind to buy goods and services. Store value, this is a function that we are highlighting in this question where money can hold value over time. So to allow people to save today and spend it tomorrow. Unit of account, that's a function that provides a common measure of money because it allows prices to be expressed as a single unit like kwacha. You want to pay for your tuition fees a day, 7 kwacha. All right. And it's also um, our best answer is store value in the sense that this young professional is saving money, not spending it immediately. So this demonstrates what the ability that money can retain its purchasing power over time. So all money can be a medium of exchange, but here the key function that we are looking at is that storing money for the future use is what is concerned here. So our answer is B. All right. So we do the same here. Question number 5. I hope you're understanding because I want to explain them further so that if questions, um, at least that you're able to understand the concept. So
Yes.
question number 5, which one of the following is an indirect instrument of the monetary policy? So there are two systems that are used when the monetary policy are being implemented by the central bank. There's what we call the direct and the indirect. The direct, these are measures that the central bank exploits to impose limits or directives on banks on what to do. For instance, the credit ceilings, where they will limit how much the bank can lend to a specific sector, or interest rate controls or sectoral loan restrictions, where banks have little discretion but must follow this direction. So these are called direct instruments. We also have indirect ways in which the bank can control money supply. These could allow banks to respond just to those incentives. For instance, the banks will come in and impose a required rate of return, which is a percentage that banks must keep to with the central bank. So if you increase the reserve ratio, it means funds for lending available will be tightened, very little to share out. Decreasing the reserve ratio, it means you free up enough monies to be in supply. The other indirect methods are the open market operations. like buying and selling of securities like bonds. The other way is discount rate or central bank lending rate adjustments. So in this case, which ones are the the answer here? Which one is an indirect? It is A, right? Which is the required reserve rate. Okay, question number 6 here. Number 6 here. It reads, which one of the following is a step that the central bank will take to encourage greater investment in the economy? Greater investment in the economy. So you must understand that the central bank uses what are called monetary tools to influence credit availability, money supply, and investment in the economy. So one of the main goals is to encourage economic growth by promoting what? Investment. So through the cash reserve ratio, CRR, which is a percentage of deposits that the commercial banks must keep with the central bank. So the monetary policy instrument here that will affect lending capacity is number one, if you have a high CRR, it means banks will have less money to lend in the economy. If you are lowering the cash reserve ratio, it means banks have more money to lend available in the economy. So this will encourage investment. The other options that are available. Okay. So in this case, our answer was what? Was B, looking at reducing the cash reserve ratio because of enough money. Other options like A, increasing the cash reserve ratio, this is the opposite, reducing uh, to reduce money available if you increase the reserve ratio. The other one, increasing bank interest rate at which commercial banks will borrow from the commercial bank. So increasing it will make borrowing more expensive, so to reduce investment. Selling securities in the open market. So this is an open operation, so it will reduce money supply. And again, it will discourage investment. So the answer is reducing the CRR because banks will have more funds available to lend and interest rates may decrease due to increased liquidity, and also businesses will find it easier to borrow for investment purposes. Is that clear? Okay, then we go to
Clear.
the three C's of credit. The three C's of credit. Now, you must understand also that in credit analysis, banks and other financial institutions use what are called the three C's of credit to determine whether a borrower is creditworthy or capable of repaying a loan. And these include character, which looks at the borrower's reputation or reliability. Here it questions the lender. Does this borrower have a history of repaying debts in time? Is the borrower trustworthy? In capacity, it refers to the borrower's ability to repay the loan based on the income flow. So questions the lender may ask would be, does the borrower have a stable income or profitable business? Can they generate enough funds to service this loan? That is capacity. Then the other C is capital. Here it refers to the owner's own investment or equity. So questions here that the lender will ask is how much personal money or assets has the borrower invested, and is the borrower financially committed? So the borrower contributing savings shows commitment and reduces the risk to the lender. So this is very important because it reduces the risk for lenders, and it also is a structured assessment. It's widely used in the banking area. So the three C's in this case, our answer is what? D. Is that clear?
Clear.
All right. Then we go to the formula for the car. Okay? The CAR. So what is this CAR and how does it work? So we have what we call the capital adequacy ratio, measures the bank's financial strength and stability. It indicates whether the bank has enough capacity to absorb any losses like happened with the investment. It was the investment bank. So the formulas that we need to know are that it is also known as the capital to weight asset ratio. So we are measuring the total capitals over the weighted assets, risk assets. So the formula is simply T1 capital plus T2 capital over risk-weighted assets times 100. So here our answer definitely is what? And 2 over weight A. Okay. Then what is the total payout of an individual at 100, 10,000 in 5 years' time? So you're just calculating the future value. Future value is calculated by future value is equal to present value 1 plus R. So what is our present value? The power time 10,000.
10,000.
Then what is our interest rate? 5 years.
5 years.
Okay. The power what? 5.
To the power of 5.
Yes. So this is how you calculate it. So if it was compounded monthly, what do we do? Monthly, our aim is what? 12.
It's 12 years.
So here we would have written 10,000, 1 plus 0.05 to the power what?
To the power 12.
12 times 12. The time multiplied by time times 12 times 5. If it was quarterly, here would have put 4 and here 4 there.
4.
It was weekly, 52 and 52 there. Okay. Is that clear?
Yes.
Right. Then we go to what is the risk weight for personal assets is always 100%. So under the standardized approach of the Basel account, we always consider personal loans to fall under 100% risk weight typically. Okay. Mhm. So we go to now regarding credit information. So whenever a bank or financial institution wants to collect information about the person, we have different institutions responsible. So we're what we call a credit bureau, which is an institution that collects, it stores and sells credit information about individuals, about businesses to lenders and other authorized parties. So a credit bureau is simply an institution that gathers information on credit history and repayment behavior. And this information can be used by banks and microfinancial institutions and other lenders to assess the credit worthiness of these potential borrowers. So the main purpose is to reduce what is called information asymmetry. And so how does this work? So the firstly, they will do the data collection. Okay, so the bureau will collect data from banks, from credit unions, from loan providers, from the public records. Then we analyze and store this data. So this information will be stored as standing loans, repayment history, default or late payments, and bankruptcy records. Then selling or sharing the data. So the lenders will purchase this and the report will be given for extending credit. And other the importance of this credit bureau because it reduces lending risk. It also promotes responsible borrowing, improves what? Access to credit. So our answer in this case was what? Credit bureau B. Are we together? So we go to question number 12. Yeah, 12. Are we together? Are we following?
Yes.
So This question is looking at what is called the loanable fund theory. So there's what we call the loanable fund theory, which explains how interest rates is determined by supply and demand for loanable funds. So the concept here is that at equilibrium, the quantity of funds demanded should be equal to the quantity of funds supplied. This is what happens at equilibrium. Loans, okay? So, okay, supply and demand. Equilibrium is where they meet. Okay, so what actually happens in this sense is that if the market interest rate is lower than equilibrium, the borrowers will want to borrow more because the loans are cheap. And lenders here will be willing to supply less because the turnover is lower. So this will create a shortage of funds, thereby creating what we call a deficit of funds. So as you can see in the graph, the supply of funds is upsloping, okay, where more supply and the demand is downsloping. So below the equilibrium here is simply a point where the quantity demanded is what? Is more than the quantity supplied. So the deficit is shown here. This is a deficit. The surplus is here. All right. So, uh, our answer therefore is going to be B. What happens if interest rate is lower than the equilibrium here? We're going to have a deficit. If it's above, we're going to have a surplus. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right. So we go to question number
13.
13. Question number 13 is about the factors affecting real interest rate in an economy. So real interest rate is determined by supply and demand. So real interest rate is simply nominal interest rate. We remove the inflation rate. It reflects the true cost of borrowing. So, and the true return on savings. The real interest rate is determined by the equilibrium of the loanable funds market. So supply of loanable funds will come from savings, and demand for loanable funds will come from what? Investments. So what is the effect of increased savings? So if citizens like you and me save more for retirement, what will happen? There'll be more supply for funds, and these funds will be available to the banks, to the lenders, and they will lend at lower interest rates. So this will do what? It will push interest rates down. So it will make borrowing cheaper. So now, with that concept, which one of the following is most likely to lower the interest rate? Our answer was B, because when citizens, nation increase their savings for retirement, there'll be more in the money supply. Is that clear?
Very clear.
Right. So we go to question number what? Number 15 here.
What what about 14?
Question number 14. Yes, this is 14. Yes.
Okay.
Read it. Number 14. Question number 14 is talking about the loanable funds market as well, where interest rates is determined by supply and demand. So we know that what um, supply for loanable funds comes primarily from where households from deposits, and the interest rate acts like an incentive for saving. So if you have high interest, there'll be more savings, and the supply will shift to the right. If there are low interest, people will not save because they want to make money. So meaning the supply will shift to the left. So what is the effect of lower interest rates on deposits? So if banks pay lower interest rates, what will do? Households are less motivated to save. So we'll hold money, we'll keep them under the pillow. And the overall supply of funds for lending will reduce. So this will be represented by a shift to the left for loanable funds. So this is what will happen. Okay. So if the interest rates are low, it will be less attractive. So the loanable funds will shift to the left. Supply S0 to S1. So which of the following would shift loanable funds to the left? The answer is A, when there's a decrease in what? Uh, when there's a decrease in interest rate paid to commercial banks. So C. Okay, C. C will be the most appropriate answer. When there be a less increase paid these deposits. Okay. Then
So for question 14, the answer is C.
yes, C. Reference C. All right. So we got to question number 15.
15.
Okay. So number 15 reads, it's about the role of financial markets. So we know financial markets are institutions or systems that facilitate buying and selling of financial assets like stocks and bonds, and they perform critical functions like channeling of funds to productive areas, improving liquidity for businesses, setting prices for financial assets, and also managing risk. So if the financial market broke down, what do you think would happen? There'll be disruption in this capital flow, meaning savings will not efficiently be channeled, meaning there'll be inactivity in the economy, investors will lose confidence and credibility. There'll be political and social instability, meaning unemployment will raise, people will lose money out of the pension market, and social unrest will, and political instability will also be a consequence. So now, let's go to our question. Our question will be a breakdown in financial markets will result in what? A rapid economic growth, political instability, financial stability, stable prices. So B is the answer. All right. So we go to question number what?
16.
16. So question number 16 reads as follows. Which of the following instruments are traded in the money market? So you must understand that we have what we call money markets. This is where short-term securities are traded, or less than a year, they're borrowed or lent. So it provides liquidity that could be used for short-term financing. And participants include banks, cooperatives, commercial banks, and money market funds. So in the money market, the instruments that we use are commercial paper, which is an unsecured or short-term debt instrument issued by corporations within 1 to 270 days. We also have a treasury bill, a certificate of deposit, a repurchase agreement, and the banker's acceptance. So, which ones of these ones here are part of the short-term securities? Commercial paper, correct? Bonds, no. Bank loans, no. So the answer is A. All right. Okay. So number what? 17. Number 17 reads as follows. The relationship between the term structure interest rate is what? So the term structure of interest rates is also called the yield curve. It shows the relationship between the interest rate and the yield of a security. And this one is usually investment related. It explains how interest rates will vary for bonds or loans, assuming they have what? Similar credit quality. So the features of the term structure is that number one, typically they are longer term bonds, they have higher interest rates due to the risk attached. However, the curve can be normal or upward sloping or flat depending on economic what conditions. The usefulness of this is that they help to assess what the risk expected returns for different maturities. And central banks or policymakers will use it to predict economic activities. So the answer is B. The term shows the relationship between interest rates and the maturity and time it takes. So the answer is B. Okay. Then an inverted yield curve, what will it do? Question number 18. An inverted uh, yield curve, what does it do? So you must understand that here we're just learning about yield curves and what they indicate. So a yield curve is simply an interest rate of yield against their maturity. So the shape provides you insight into the market expectations of the future rates. So the most common shapes that we have a normal yield curve, which is upsloping. All right, long term is usually greater than short term rates. Then we have the flat yield curve. So long term is equal to short term rates. So it signals uncertainty. Then we also have an inverted uh, yield curve, which is downward sloping. The long term rates are less than the short term rates. And so it's often considered to be a predictor of economic recession because here investors expect interest rates to fall in the future. So we go, our answer here is A. An inverted yield implies that the long-term rate are lower than the short-term rates. So this is A. Number 20, 19, John of Throne theory does not explain the term structures of a yield. Okay? John of the following does not explain term structure of a yield. So the question here is about theories that explain term structure and the relationship. So term structure theories that we should know, there's expectation theory, which states that long-term interest rates are on average an average of the current and expected future short-term rates. In the liquidity premium theory, this one extends this expectation theory. It adds that premium for holding longer term securities compensates investors for their interest rate. Then we also have segmented market theory or segmentation theory, as others call it. It states that short-term and long-term interest rates are determined independently in separate markets. Then the Keynesian theory is it focuses on macroeconomic concepts like aggregate planning. So that one is the one which is wrong. So in our case here, which one of them does not explain? It's C. Then lastly, but not the least, explain how to calculate the money market multiplier. So money market multiplier is equal to 1 plus C over R plus C plus E, where C is the currency ratio, R is the reserve ratio, and E is the excess. So given the data here, we just substitute our 5% here has been given as our reserve ratio. So we put it under our 5%. And our statutory reserve ratio, 10% is the required reserve ratio. Then also currency circulation is 5%. So this is our currency